I guess we've been unmuted and you may as well join the room, but the video didn't work.
Kristian Livolsi, it's the hot seat. We're back. It is Tuesday. We've had an absolutely killer week. You were here in Sydney, hanging out with our clients at our quarterly event. How are you going today?
I'm good. No problem from me. I'm just trying to work out where Ecamm's put every bit of information here on my computer. There we go. There's the camera that I'm meant to be using. Great. I'm good. I'm good. It's been hectic coming back straight into a busy Monday and a busy Tuesday. So last week was huge. We
Yes.
obviously had our intensive in Sydney, and it was a really big improvement on the last one. The last one was amazing. So
Yeah.
we're constantly moving the needle for our members, and that's really cool. We got some great outcomes from people who took one of the trainings that we did, and we've already had people making thousands of dollars in revenue just
Yeah.
from putting out
The,
offers.
the
Uh,
instant execution from this quarter has been really, really amazing. And I think that flows into, you know, lots of people are talking about money and cost of living, and this is a huge thing for so many people. And having the ability to see the areas where you can improve on and really execute quickly to get
yeah.
cash in. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. I wanted to talk about cash flow, what to cut, what to keep. And my first question I wanted to ask you, Kristian, is what's the best way to really review your expenses? If you're feeling like you're tight with money in your business right now, what what should you be looking at? What's the first step to reassessing?
Look, to effectively review business expenses, you actually have to ensure that your cost reductions are both strategic as well as sustainable. So I encourage people to take a very methodical approach to prioritizing their long term growth as well as their operational efficiency. So some of the things that I've done and some of the things that I teach um, would be, to conduct comprehensive audits. Right. So that's where I would start. So categorize expenses into fixed, variable, and discretionary. And then look at this segment, because this type of segmentation will actually help you identify which costs are essential to your operation, right? And especially those that are linked to revenue. So that's really important. I always encourage everybody to then analyze the value and the return on investment. So evaluate each expense on the basis of the value that it brings to the business. Okay. Then I would also be saying, okay, well, where's your benchmarking? So let's benchmark against industry standards, which is really important. I always would then at that point go and seek the team's opinion and input, because particularly in a larger company, which I do a lot of advisory work in, they're the people that are on the ground, and they're able to better understand the impact of that cost cutting measure. And then you'd probably look at, saying, for example, considering or have a focus on improving cost efficiency rather than merely cutting costs. So these are all the steps that I will take. And I guess this actually involves optimizing existing processes as well as leveraging technology to reduce costs without compromising on, say, the quality or even the output.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think. The other thing is obviously to regularly review and adjust your expenses. I know that I just the other day was working with Lucy on our home financial forecasting, as in where do we want to be. Is for us, we're very blessed. It's not an issue of what do we need to be able to do what we do. It's more about fiscal policy in our house. Like, what is it that we want to achieve in the next 3 years? Is kind of what the conversation was like. And even though that's not a business, I treat it like a business.
Yeah, well,
our
it's
home
really
finances.
interesting, right? Because a lot of people, and I remember this from back in my finance and accounting days, the top accountants and things of firms that I worked in were so terrible at managing their own personal money, right? And that's
Yeah.
what they did for a profession, but they just didn't take that into the home.
Yeah, look, I think that I think well, I think you heard me on the weekend, and so did all of our students and members in growth school. Uh, I don't distinguish between personal and business.
Yeah.
There is no thing. There's no such thing. When you are a business owner, when you are an entrepreneur, business and personal is the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's not because your business is a member of your family. Quite the opposite. Business is business, and family is family, and family always comes first. But your business needs to be respected in the same way. Your family needs to be respected. And so, we sit down and we were looking at, and the reason why 3 years, I'll be 50 in 3 years. And it was kind of like, shit, when I was 30, I was like, yeah, this is great. And now 50, you're like, okay, where do I really want to be at 50?
Mm,
I've got some pretty big, bold goals of where I want to be professionally, in terms of teaching internationally, not just our clients, but take growth school around the world and potentially land in some adjunct role teaching in some high level business schools.
mm,
The practical side of business, what really happens, and and sort of tie that back in. But I think what's really important is that then you match that with your financial ability. So we're buying another investment property at the moment, and we're saying, okay, well, how much money do we need to do that, and what's the impact of that? Our children have been at private school for since the day they were allowed to go to school. So we unlike other parents, don't have to budget that next part of our life. We've been budgeting for it
mhm.
since we made the decision. I mean, Leo's been there 6 years already. So, for us, it's kind of like saying, okay, where do we want to be in 3 years? What do we need to do? And then I've got to go back and say, okay, well, shit, what can the business sustainably do in order to meet that? So I think this is where you've got to regularly review and adjust and then take it back. So, for example, some steps, and I know these are useful for people, some steps that, we provide our clients with is always implement some kind of expense tracking system. If you're using Xero or MyOb, just make sure that your bookkeepers are reviewing everything. I mean, we constantly review subscriptions because in the media company that we own, Bonnie loves subscribing to things. And then when she hasn't realized that their team's not using it anymore, it just keeps going. And so, you go, okay, well, hell, do we
It's so
need this? Do we
easy to
need.
sign up to, right? It's so quick and
Mm.
easy to just go, oh yeah, I get a free trial, so I'll log in and then yep, I'll accept that subscription.
Yeah. I think the thing is not just the things you sign up to. It's we tend to sign up to things on yearly plans. And if all
Mm.
of a sudden you don't know that yearly plan is going to expire, and then it expires and it rolls over, you're up for like $2,000-$3,000 for some of these subscriptions, and
Mm.
that's where you get caught out. So we have a register now for subscriptions, so that's one area. But what you want to do is always schedule regular quarterly reviews, and also educate everyone in your team on being cost aware, and that'll actually help them in their own personal lives. So, I guess, Simone, to approach expense review, always do so with a strategic mindset, have an informed perspective, and that'll help you make better, more intelligent decisions that will actually reduce costs without sacrificing the growth potential or even the operational integrity of your business, because that's really important. All right.
Yeah, I think there's some really great takeaways in there, and I love what you said as well about getting your team involved because it's very easy, I think, as a business owner to go, we don't use that, or that's not necessary
Where have we
without the,
gone?
I don't know, I'm here.
Okay, there's me, and then where are you? Okay, and then you're here. There you go. I don't know what's having a meltdown. My computer from the weekend intensive, or you know, and my other camera on my phone was connected.
Right.
Then, like, right, okay,
Computer says no today. But yeah, I think that's really important. And it's something that we noticed as well, obviously, in the growth outsource, the virtual assistant company have, is that when people start to say, oh, money's getting tight, I need to stop my VA, or I need to stop the lead generation kind of activities. And it's really interesting to see or try and understand what's in the mindset, or where's the scarcity coming from in when that happens.
Belinda is on and she's telling us that we're both back. You missed
Oh,
us, didn't you? Um, Belinda, you had a great time at the intensive, didn't you? What a blast, and what amazing contributions that you and everyone made, which was fantastic. I agree, Simone.
All right, let's move into the second question. How often should you be reviewing your business expenses? Is this something you're looking at monthly when you're running your quarterly reports? Well,
Look, I think the
we know you watch
frequency.
the money coming in on your phone, but do you watch it going out just as thoroughly?
Yeah, no, I'm always looking at. I look at what goes in and out every day, as everyone knows, and I do that across all 5 companies, and I also have access to 80% of our clients' zero accounts. Uh, I think Jody made a really good point. I don't even know how you remember yours, and then you remember ours, and I'm the CEO of my company and the former CFO, and you know my numbers like that. I don't know. I have this crazy ability to just memory recall. I think it stems from the competency of care, like I genuinely care, and the only way for me to know is to understand everyone's details. And I think that people also take for granted. I live in the strategic stratosphere pretty
Mm.
much 80% of the time. The 20% is in my own businesses, just holding people accountable and maybe yelling sometimes. I haven't done that for a while. Um, but I think that's the reason why I have a really good memory recall. But I think the frequency can vary based on several factors, including the size of your business, right?
Mm.
And also the dynamic nature of your expenses, as well as the overall economic environment. Okay, really important. So I think at a minimum, an organization needs to review their variable expenses on a monthly basis. And by that, I mean utilities, raw materials, freelancing services. These are all really need to be reviewed monthly. Now, the reason why is because it actually allows you to quickly identify any trends, such as the unexpected increases, and also address them before they become larger issues. Okay, so that one's
Mm.
really important to me. It's a no-brainer. Then I think you've got to have a look at a quarterly strategic review, and what I mean by this is you should include a deeper dive into both the fixed and variable costs, as well as an assessment on how these expenses are supporting your actual strategic obligations, okay,
Mm.
and objectives. So quarterly reviews are really ideal for adjusting budgets, particularly in response to changing business business conditions. I'm a little bit
Mhm.
slow today. I'm super tired, and I apologize for everyone listening. And you've chosen a topic of finance, and I've been writing about the complete different thing before you called me, and I've got a mastermind for my squad straight after, so my brain is a little bit there. So I apologize to everyone,
Fine.
but I think then the big one is you got to do the annual review, where this is really in depth,
Mm.
and we don't have an entire 5 hours to go through this, but that's a really important one. We do that all the time with our clients. You've got to look at event-driven reviews. Okay, COVID taught us that, but we're going through a slowdown in the economy. Apparently, according to the media, we're in an economic Armageddon. It's so full of shit. The companies that, in my opinion, are not doing well, the ones that don't have advisors. And if you've got an
Mhm.
advisor and you're not doing well, then you chose the wrong person, or you fuck something up in your strategy. Um, eh, Everyone that I know that is not doing it alone and is doing it to a plan is writing out whatever situation is developing around this country and on a global scale. We have clients all around the world, and I can say what I say with sheer and absolute certainty that we are not in a suppressed market. We're in certain markets are suppressed, But if you have been playing the strategic game, pivoting, diversifying, look at your options, even people that are complaining they can't find staff. I've got clients that are growing 10 to 20 staff members a year, FTEs, right? And we're filling those roles with excellent people. 80-20, like 80% of the people are fantastic. 20% need to be realigned or moved on, and we do that, right? So, and all of that is not because we just know how to recruit better. It's because we've built exceptionally brilliant brands based on our core. So this is where you've got to review all your events. We do it too. I mean, for example, let's say that you're a small retail business and you're specializing in seasonal products. You should conduct a monthly review to adjust the significant fluctuations in inventory costs and sales. Quarterly, you should assess the broader financial health and marketing expenses, and especially that after the high season. So annually, you would perform an in-depth review to plan for the next year, taking into account all the new trends as well as your customer feedback. So, now I've used that because we have a lot of small businesses in our mix, and a mix of retail and non-retail. And so that is the formula that we use, and we teach them that, So I think ultimately, Simone, that's kind of how I would look at it. I would set regular review meetings. I would use financial management tools, and I would train my team, because by implementing a structured schedule for reviewing business expenses or anything of that nature, you not only maintain, tighter controls over your finances, but you also enhance your ability to respond agilely, if that's a word, to opportunities and challenges within the marketplace that you work in.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I really like that. I've got one more question for you before we wrap up, Kristian, and I want to change this a little bit because I feel like you've already touched on what I was going to say. I would love to know your thoughts and opinions on the scarcity that's being created around money and mindset and all of those sorts of things. How do you seek independent knowledge and not just get caught up in the media hype of what people are saying about recessions and this happening and that happening? How do you decipher where you should be focusing your attention in business?
Look, I think the first thing is don't read the shitty tabloids, and don't watch the news. We were away, and I don't know why I had the news on, and I'm like, there is nothing fucking positive in this. It's just negative, 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 negative. I mean, what happened to the news channels actually reporting things that mattered to people? I don't really need to know how many people died of, murder this week. Like, who gives a shit? Right? Like, seriously, like, what benefit is there to the victim? What benefit is there to the victim's families? And what benefit is there to anyone else? I mean, all you see is, someone died in a road crash. Okay. Is this some part of a political strategy to make us aware that you need to drive more carefully? There are other ways to do that, I think. I mean, anyway, I've got a pretty big, bold opinion on most things, so I need to be quite careful of how far I go. But I think it's, I always say to people, educate yourself on the media literacy, right? So if you can't sustain from watching it, a lot of older people still believe the news is gospel, and they believe shit. Like, I just look at older people, and I'm old now, I'm getting older, and I just hope that people are unplugging from this, and, but they're not. Subscribership is up. That, try and subscribe to a newspaper, and the subscription process is incredibly simple. Try to unsubscribe, and it takes you forever, right? So it's a business, right? And in South Australia in particular, when I found out about the media in terms of how they operate, it's really about creating divide between the north and the south, right? Like, between rich and poor. For example, here, I'm not sure how many private schools have been mentioned in the newspaper here for the last 6 weeks, but there has been a crazy ass agenda to make private schools look like disasters. Boys doing this, girls doing this. this. And I mean, it's just like, I haven't seen a single public school mentioned. And it's like, are you
Yeah.
telling me that shit like this only happens in private schools, and private schools and all their wealth? And it's creating a divide. So the media is always going to run their own agenda.
Mm.
When Trump is going for election, man, they just crucify Trump. There's no noise about anyone else. It's like, we hate him, so we're going to do everything in our power to destroy him. It's
Yeah.
kind of like, whatever. Make up your own fucking mind, right? And
Mm.
and to do that, look and seek out, and I think that's the point I'm making, seek out credible sources. There are some excellent, just like proper journalists out there that actually value their job and actually do it. They don't rely on second or third information from people because they're too busy, because they're getting paid a job on hourly rates. There are people that still have some level of integrity out there. So look for those people. Look for the bloggers that have really good credibility and aren't driving biased opinions. I, for example, look at a diverse series of sources, okay? So that I can get a good understanding of whether or not there's a bias in there or not. I use scholarly and peer-reviewed materials a lot, particularly when
Mm.
I read something, I go, oh, that's really good. I might read it on Entrepreneur Media because I used to write for them. But, ultimately, they're also people with opinions like me, right? So, I go in and I'll go and do a scholarly review and go, oh, that's some really interesting findings. And, again, even academics, they've got their own thing, but they've been scrutinized. Those journals go through scrutiny, particularly the medical journals. And again, so I guess what I'm saying is check the source, right?
Yeah.
I've sometimes looked at sourcing and I've gone, oh my God, that's your source? Like Kim Kardashian? Like, really? Like, all due respect, you're an amazing brand, but that's not a source. Like, and I'm making shit up. It's not Kim,
Yeah.
but it's like, I'm just saying, if you're looking at business and you've got an influencer who's never owned a business saying that something's up, then you kind of go, all right, really? So you got to use your own judgment. Probably the one that we teach all of our clients is learn critical thinking skills. When you start to use the 6 hat sigma and you start processing better, you'll start to make better decisions. The
Mm.
other thing is engage experts, but even then, the expert themselves could have a bias, right? So, I know that you're probably thinking Kristian must have a magic bullet. There is no magic bullet here. And what I'm also saying to people is I'm not right either. I
Mm.
might come across as forthright and right and righteous in my approach, but that's only my opinion. And I always say to people, and I say this to our clients, I'm only as good to you as the result that I continue to achieve for you. And that result may be meaning, may be wealth, and it may be freedom. And that's how I want to be judged by people. And, something that I'm very proud of, and Belinda, I know, is still online, and, she said it was absolutely amazing. Oh, Saturday. But, I don't take it for granted that I have a wonderful team and a great tribe of business owners. And I will give you zero sympathy, but I'll give you bucket loads of empathy because I've been there myself. And, I think that's how you make that judgment. But don't judge a book by its cover is probably the most important message. If you haven't watched my documentary that Simi Riot did and she's a amazing psychologist, when she decided that, she'd made a judgment call on the person that I was until she saw behind the scenes and said, we need to tell the story. And, I got 2 messages yesterday from some people that one I know, one I don't, said, I just watched your doco. I didn't realize that you were so open and honest. And and I'm like, you didn't watch the 3 hours that was actually filmed. You only got 1 hour. There was stuff that was cut out because it was too confronting for people. But I think the reality of it is, Simone, you just got to be really careful who you listen to, including your coaches and your advisors. But the secret is listen to people whose values you align with.
Mm.
I think that's probably going to give you. I have so many mentors and dear friends that because of our alignment, if these guys say, hey, Kristian, you're being a bozo, I pull my head in like straight away.
Mm.
I don't question it because they've had my back forever. you know, and sort of that's the role I want to play for our clients is I want to have their back all the time, but at the same time I want to continue to deliver outcomes for them and their families. You know, I think Karim from the Bokta method. I know Karim from the Bokta method. You know, he almost he had me in tears at the end of the day when I thought we'd wrapped up and I was packing down and he grabbed remember the whole room and he stopped the room and he said, "I'm going to speak on behalf of me and everyone for over 2 years you've changed my life and that of my family, and anyone who knows me knows that that is what I live for." Right? Transforming people's lives, but not just them, others. The impact that I want to have is not the impact just on my family. It's on you. It's on your family, Simone. It's on our clients. It's on the wider community. And that drives me. So I think that when you're talking about finances, like I said, we take our finances seriously at home and at work. And because work and home are the same, because we're business owners, we find a way to layer that through. Last night, on top of Lucy and I having discussion, we use Spriggy. It's a little app for the kids and they get their own little card. And we sat there and rebuilt all the chores that they need to do and how they work. And, I got stitched with all the expensive things. Lucy, because Lucy's got hers and I got mine. Hers are the everyday transactions as she defined it, like 70 cents, 50 cents. I get that if you get a merit at school, $50. If you get an A, it's, $50, $100. You get, because our children have to work really, really hard at school in order to meet, the standard. And it's just because, they're younger. Leo particularly is almost a year younger in his year group. But also, if they take after their father and their mother, we both have dyslexia. I've got ADHD that was diagnosed as a child. So, our children have to work hard. And Lucy is an incredible mum who, spends hours with them just to get them to get with our. And Leo got a B for maths and he was a D maths student at the beginning of the year. And, even the teacher's like, wow, the work you guys are putting in. I'm like, I can't take any credit for that. I'm not that guy. And so I'm really lucky that I've got Lucy, but we're trying to teach the kids that effort, right? So Leo gets like a ridiculous amount. I don't even remember what it is, but we agreed that so I don't know if your boys, but our boys, our kids, they get, there's a behavior learning thing and it's like never, sometimes, always. There's 4 categories. And Leo's always in the middle to the right side, the good side. And I sort of said, mate, I don't care about your grades because if you have the right attitude, you will win at life. I said, so I'm going to give you, I don't know what the number is, but it's a lot. If you can hit all 4 bars, but for every bar you don't get and it goes above this, I'll still give you something. And Lucy's looking at me going, oh my God, you treat this like a business, don't you? I'm like, it's all about KPIs, baby, right? And if you can teach a 9-year-old how to have KPIs, you will have tremendous success. Now, I realize you were meant to be on air at 12:30, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah? So why don't you go, because you got to go and see our clients at Customers in Demand. You're running the live training. What are you teaching today?
We are talking about offers. It's a follow-on from the weekend, but yeah, following through on the module, just what are people putting out there? What offers are you putting out there, and how are you serving your ideal
Great.
client?
Well, you go see them because they need us. And thank you, Belinda, for being online, and thank you to the other, 2,311 people that weren't watching. No, seriously, it's always wonderful to have these conversations with you. I apologize to our viewers. I am a little bit knackered. I'm looking forward to
the big week.
the weekend.
But
yeah.
Kristian Livolsi, this has been the Hot Seat. Thank you very much for your time and insights as always, and we'll be back next Tuesday.
Cheers, Simone. I don't think the videos are going to work